last night saw the return of Pyotr Kochetkov to the NHL, and he did so in dominant fashion, registering a shutout in his first game back. That also had a power play goal from Andrei Svechnikov. Find out how the Hurricanes came away with the win in this episode of Locked On Hurricanes.
You're Locked On Hurricanes, your daily podcast on the Carolina Hurricanes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey there, Caniacs. I'm your host, Jared Ellis, and you are listening to Locked On Hurricanes on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And as always, thank you for making Locked On Hurricanes your first listen of this Friday afternoon. Today, we will be recapping last night's win over the Philadelphia Flyers. We will hear from Rod Brind'Amour, Andrei Svechnikov, and Brett Pesce all in this episode. But we're going to start diving into this game. And this, again, like I said, was a 1-0 shutout. And as I've said so many times this season, one power play goal can make the difference. I've been pointing to that game up in Detroit where Brady Shea got his, and same thing here. That one power play goal made the difference as Andrei Svechnikov netted the lone goal of the night in a power play for the Hurricanes, their first power play of the night, just 2 minutes and 9 seconds into the game. And it really felt at the time like the Hurricanes offense was off to the races. They're coming off of those games against Tampa and Arizona where they netted 6 goals apiece in those. The game in Montreal, I was kind of thinking, oh, just a bit of a bump in the road. But hey, a 1-0 win is still a win. It was not a pretty win by any means, though. And I don't mean that just by the score, because we've seen goaltender duels, many, many times over the years. And that's not a problem. Tip of the cap to Pyotr Kochetkov and Sandstrom last night. Both those guys played fantastic. The score easily could have been much worse for Philly had their goaltender not stepped up the way he did. Andrei Svechnikov easily, honestly, could have had a hat trick in the first period if another guy was in net for Philly. It really could have gotten out of hand fast. So their goalie did as much as he could to keep the team in the game. And that's also, it could have been much worse throughout the game as well. And Philly, they were playing desperate last night. They were really trying to do very much like the Hurricanes in Montreal, doing as much as they could to stay in it. And they did. And they did. They easily could have tied it up. They could have taken a lead, but that's a testament to Pyotr Kochetkov and the Hurricanes defense of them stepping up. But again, this was not a pretty win by any means. The Hurricanes were still having trouble entering Philly's zone and just setting up in general. They did have some good looks, but they also had some not so great looks. It felt like an improvement on Montreal, but they're still having some of those issues. Again, puck management was bad. They're having a lot of turnovers in this game. And not only was that problem, their passing was still just not great. The puck management, just as a whole, really just all aspects of it, just wasn't up to snuff with this team last night. And we did get to hear from Rod Brind'Amour last night, and this is what Rod had to say following last night's win.
Not a room out there tonight. A team that played tenaciously against you too, and then the fancy shots didn't go. Hard game, right?
Hard game. We had actually quite a lot of opportunities. They just blocked a lot of shots. We were in good position. We didn't really have to, push it too much. I think we tried to a little bit at times earlier in the game. That wasn't, just wasn't really what we needed to do. And then I felt like third period we actually played pretty well, just taking what was there.
Kochetkov comes back. It seems like he settled right back in pretty well for you.
Well, he made a couple of real great saves. That's the difference in the game. I mean, their goalie played really well, and he had to match it. And I've said breakaway in the second was probably the biggest one. They had one in the third there too. So he, when he was solid, he needed to be. He was. And then I thought he did a good job with puck handling a couple times, just getting the puck out for us. So very, very good game for him.
How much are you holding your breath when Svech is going off?
Yeah, anytime. This time of year, you just, it's one of the things you just obviously don't want to see. So that was good to see him come back.
Do you think there's, anything, I saw Tyler Seguin had an injury with a skate cut today too. Is there anything different that you can do up in that upper body to make things a little, upper part of the legs?
No, I mean, it's the part of the game, the hazard. It is what it is. I mean, most of the guys are pretty covered. For most of their bodies, it is what it is. That's the danger.
It was just one game. Did you see anything different from Kuch tonight that you hadn't seen before?
Not really. I mean, he's a confident kid. That's been his MO really from day one. So I didn't see much there.
How about Brent Burns, 38 today? It still looks like he's 24.
Right. I mean, gave me a little heart attack on the last one when he decided to drop it to their guy. But we've said so much about him already, and just a great addition and great human being and great player. So we definitely got lucky there.
We talked about the power play plenty, and there's nights where it's going well and it doesn't go in. It seems like tonight maybe it wasn't great, but you get the only goal.
Yeah, again, depends how you look at it. We got the first one was good, and then the second one, especially all alone twice. So I look at it like that. We were getting some pretty good looks. They weren't going, but we got in pretty much, fairly well. So all in all, it wasn't bad, and it was the difference in the game.
Is there an uneasy feeling when you all of a sudden your penalty kills out there in the third period?
Well, of course. Yeah, I mean, that's not the time of the game where you want to be shorthanded, that's for sure. But we did a really nice job with that. So kudos to those guys.
All right, thanks, Rod.
Yep.
Thanks.
So a few things that I do want to talk about with Rod Brind'Amour. One thing that was mentioned before the game was that it looks like Chatfield and Ronta will be out a little bit longer than expected. Really not any sort of timetable on those guys right now, but they're going to be out longer than expected. So expect Dahan, Gostisbehere, that pairing for a little bit, and expect the goaltending tandem of Frederik Andersen and Pyotr Kochetkov for a little while as well. Hopefully those guys aren't going to be out super, super long though. But as he mentioned, a lot of block shots from Philly. Their defense and their goaltending really stepped up. I cannot stress that enough. This game really could have been a lot worse for them because the Hurricanes did have a lot of good looks, and they really Philly stepped up in that regard. And Svech, got the lone power play goal. That was a difference maker. And speaking with Svech, falling on that skate, definitely very, very scary. But he's okay now. That's just something. If you're a hockey player, young, old, gotta be careful. Got to be careful. You never know what could happen. And, you mentioned Brent Burns, yesterday was his birthday and all that. But in that game, with that assist he had on the Svech power play goal, he has tied Tony DeAngelo's record for most points by a Hurricanes defenseman in a single season, and ninth most by any blue liner in a single campaign in franchise history. So it's great for him. He's really just feels relaxed. He's like settled in and he's good to go. And you look at we still have quite a few games left. Yeah, it's in the back stretch of the season, but he's going to break that record. He's going to keep going, keep going, keep going. He's going to surpass his total from last year. And it's going to be awesome. And we're going to be here for it, guys. But we did also get to hear from Andrei Svechnikov and Brett Pesce following last night's game as well. And we will dive into what those guys had to say right after this quick break, folks. Now, folks, the midway point of the NBA season is here, and now is the perfect time to download the FanDuel app, America's #1 sports book, because new customers get a no sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Then you can bet on everything from the money line to point scores and threes drained. Plus, FanDuel even lets you combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with same game parlay. So don't miss the chance to get your no sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to fanduel.com/locked on. That's fanduel.com/locked on to learn more. Now, again, we did get to hear from Brett Pesce and Andrei Svechnikov as well after last night's game. And uh, Andre, yeah, he's like Rod said, you really don't want to see guys like that go down. He's having a career year this year, in my opinion. He went to his first All-Star game. He's really stepped up big time. If you've been around for a while, you remember whenever he signed that big extension. I said that I want to see him take these steps into being the guy. When he signed that contract, they envisioned him long term being a very big part of this franchise. And he has really stepped up big time this year. And, you know, you look at just the load he's pulled this year. And, this game right here, he was the difference maker. He scored the one goal on the power play, no less, where many times throughout the season, we've been really criticizing the power play for not getting anything done, not getting going early. But that wasn't the case here tonight. And, he's able to come back, from falling on that skate, get back in there, ready to go. And I'm really, really excited to see what he can do down the stretch and into the playoffs. But let's hear what Andre had to say following last night's game.
Dodged a little bullet tonight, huh?
A little bit, it's fine. I just got a little cut, but it's all good. Thank God.
It's a pretty tight game the whole way through. It seems like maybe you guys didn't have your absolute best tonight, but is it nice to at least lock it down defensively?
Yeah, maybe, but Fire played good, just kind of we had some chances, they had some chances, but overall Fire played good, and in the third period there was nothing there, so that's why it's kind of 1-0, but thank God we got that win, and we're going to keep moving.
When you score a goal so early in the game, you guys must think, all right, tonight's going to be a night you can get a lot of them, and then you don't.
Yeah.
How do you explain that?
Well, that happens sometimes, you score right away and you don't score for a full game, but you expect to see more goals, but it didn't happen tonight.
Not bad for Pyotr just coming back up, huh?
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty impressive, just come here, yesterday flew at 10 o'clock, come here and, got a shutout. That's pretty impressive, and I'm very happy for him.
And a big save on the breakaway there on Farabee.
Yeah, just so calm, you can see just so calm and very confident himself. I guess he just knew what he's gonna do, so that's awesome.
Was it cool to hear him chanting his name again?
Yeah, actually, I was very pumped actually when we called him up yesterday, and just very excited for him. And today when they call his name, in the beginning of the game, it was awesome. Like, I think his fans love him, that's most important.
Is when a situation like that cut happens, you can't tell how bad it is, right? Is that the concern?
Yeah. I couldn't. Well, I thought it would be bigger cut, but I just tried to hold it because it would hurt for 1 minute. But after that, it was fine. So thank God. Yeah. All right. Thank you.
So obviously, we're glad Andre is okay, and the cut from falling on the skate was nothing major. But one thing with this game and that I personally had an issue with is it felt like quite often the Hurricanes were trying to do too much, and they were trying to, as Rod would say, they're trying to be too cute about things, and too many passes, too many highlight reel kinds of things, and that's something I really we haven't really seen in a while from them of trying to do too much. I feel that what was the problem with that was, they're looking at the score and just how desperate the Philly goaltender and their defense was of trying to stop the Hurricanes. They were trying to do more to get something past them, and in reality, it wasn't doing anything. And if anything, it was actually kind of hurting them, and it was opening up opportunities for Philly to go down and try to get a goal, tie it up, potentially take the lead, and get the win. So that was that was a big issue with this game. Them just trying to do too much. I think some of that could have stemmed, from frustration of like, ah, crap, we're not getting anything going. I think they just need to. All right, here's the game plan. Let's stick to it. We know what we gotta do. We know what works, and do that. And that was a big thing. I think that was just kind of them getting frustrated, but at the end of the day, one thing they really need to do heading into the weekend, when you got these back to backs against Vegas and New Jersey, respectively, they really got to get better at their puck management. I imagine that's going to be something that they're really going to work on today, practicing tomorrow, morning skate, and all that. Uh, that's going to be really, really big because that was an issue that really plagued them in Montreal. They were able to sneak out a win there. That was an issue in this game against Philly as well. It wasn't as bad as Montreal, but it was still an issue. And that is something that they're really going to have to be better on, because you are, obviously, no disrespect to Montreal and Philly, but as of this season, Vegas and New Jersey are much better teams than those two. Montreal, they are playing better than their record would say, and we saw that. And Philly, we always know Metro teams play each other really, really hard. It doesn't matter what the records are, but the teams this weekend are better teams than those two. So those mistakes that they were making in against Montreal and Philly, you can't make those mistakes against Vegas and New Jersey, because you may not be able to sneak out a win. You may not be able to get a 4-3 shootout win, 1-0 win. You may not be getting that against those two teams this weekend. So puck management is going to be really big this weekend, of getting that under control, and make sure your power play is still operating at a high level. You are able to get the power play goal in this game, which is really big and really important. I'm really glad that the Hurricanes power play is showing life. And they did have some few other chances, but their other power play opportunities throughout the game, in my opinion, just Rod said, one thing, but I personally disagree. I think they could have been better. I do. That's just me. But we also did get to hear from Brett Pesce after last night's game, and we will dive into what he had to say, as well as a quick look at this weekend's back-to-back right after this quick break. All right, folks, it's time to dive into what Brett Pesce had to say following last night's game. We've heard from Rod Brind'Amour. We've heard from Andrei Svechnikov, but now it's time to hear from the final guest of the day, and that is Brett Pesce.
So, tight game kind of the whole way. It seemed like you guys had, the puck most of the time. Is it tough in a game like that where maybe the puck's just not going in and it's a tight game the whole way?
Yeah, for sure. It happens. I thought we had a solid effort tonight, for sure. Like you said, they blocked a lot of shots. Kudos to them. But we had a bunch of chances, just didn't find the back of the net. But found a way to win, which is all that matters.
Both goaltenders were pretty impressive, it felt like tonight, right?
Yeah, for sure. They're both really good. The guy on the other side, he had some big saves, and obviously Kuchek, the shutout was huge.
How good is it to see him come back and just kind of step right back in?
Yeah, that's awesome. We love him around here. He's a great kid. Competes his tail off, which we love, and I'm just glad he came up and found his rhythm.
Penalty kill's been so good over the last 9 or 10 games, maybe even more than that. Is it hard when you haven't had one all game, and then you have one in the third period, 1-0 game?
No, not really, to be honest. We're up for the task whenever the task approaches. So you always got to be prepared.
Is it hard not to get frustrated as a team when you just can't get that second goal or third goal? Or
not really. We got a strong belief in our system, and those games it's even more important to play tight defensively and bunker down, which I thought we did. I didn't think we gave them much at all, if anything, in the third. So sometimes that's how you got to win games.
So obviously, Brett, touching on a lot of stuff we've already touched on here. So, we won't spend a whole lot of time on it. But, again, talking about Pyotr, how he came back up, and, we could go on and on and on about that. We've talked about him at length on this show. You constantly see it on social media. Everyone loves him. He's a really tough competitor. And one thing I did like from Kochetkov tonight is he kept his emotions in check. We talked about that earlier in the week of, potentially his temper, maybe getting the best of him sometimes. And that just being a maturity thing. And, as time goes on, that will, go down. But he did a really good job of keeping that in check tonight and not letting any Flyer players get to him. But, given, those are the professional hockey players, and Brett said, they weren't getting frustrated about the second goal, but, the whole, doing too much, the too cute thing, in my opinion, that says otherwise. That says, oh crap, we need to do something to give us a bit of a cushion. And that's what that said to me is, they're trying to, do more. And like I said, do too much to get that cushion, to get that second goal. Where, as did say, they didn't give them a lot. And, they did, play a really tight defensive game. Yes, they did give up opportunities. Turnovers, big in this game. They had a lot of they gave Philly quite a bit in that regard, especially early on. But at the end of the day, they did, like Montreal, just enough. And it was not a pretty win. And going into this weekend, Vegas and New Jersey have got to have better puck management. That is the biggest thing I can stress going into this weekend against the Vegas, and especially New Jersey. That's the team that's right on your heels in the division. You gotta clean it up and really tighten that up. Pesce talking about the D being really tight. Last night, puck management, they need to be tight and on point this weekend. You got one game at home, one game away. I look at that away game. That's gonna be big because you're play this game against Vegas, who ain't no slouch. They've already beat you, and get that taken care of, and then right after, hop on a flight, fly up to New Jersey, and play a really freaking good Devils team in their house after you just played the best team in the Pacific the night before. So they are really going to have their work cut out for them this weekend, and they need to have all aspects of their game tightened up, puck management being the biggest one. They do that. I'm confident, the defense, as Pesce said, it's playing tight, playing good. For the most part, I'm fine with that. I'd like to see, offense. I want to see them keep rolling. The second line, that or really just the top six in general, playing really good. Bottom six playing really good. I'm not overly concerned about any of those. We talked about Spirit Kotkaniemi. He's at 13 points in now 14 games. It was 13-13 yesterday. But he's rolling. We got plenty of guys. Andrei Svechnikov, just how good he's been this year. Bottom six, has been good as well. Defense, they're playing really good. We talked about, just the amount of points that the blue line has put up this season yesterday. And they're leading the league in that regard. Just in goals, with Svech's goal, I want to say it's 42 and now 63 games. That should still be leading the NHL, but everyone's playing really good. Power play, it's as a whole, I feel still pretty good. It was a threat in last night's game. Could have been better, but it was still a threat. And I do feel, hey, get there against Vegas. They get there against New Jersey. They're gonna have to get rolling early. None of this slow start stuff like in Montreal. That's gonna be really important because here, yeah, that was great. They did not get off to a slow start, and we can chalk a good bit of that up to the 1-0 being how good Philly's goaltending and defense was. But they're going to have something like that this weekend. They're going to have to get going quickly in these games because these are not going to be games that you can potentially crawl out of and claw out a win. Not saying they can't, but it's going to be a heck of a lot tougher against a team like Vegas or New Jersey than it would be against Montreal. They're really going to have to do more than just enough. They're because I could see Vegas and New Jersey really taking advantage of the mistakes that they have made in these past two games, where it was just enough to beat those teams, not be enough to beat Vegas and New Jersey. They're really going to have to be on their A game. We're going to need the team that we saw against Arizona and Tampa Bay. That's the team we need against these teams here this weekend. And also this weekend, he did take the ice in warm-ups. Yes, he Puljujarvi, but he ended up not playing. I think that was just kind of warming up, literally just warming up. He wasn't playing. And maybe a thing for the fans and whatnot. Definitely needs a bigger helmet. That helmet looked like 3 sizes too small. But I imagine we will see him play this weekend. I could definitely see tomorrow against Vegas being Puljujarvi's debut for the Hurricanes. I really think that's going to be it. He'll have had some practices. He's got a warm-up session in there as well. I definitely think we're going to see him this weekend, and we'll talk about how he performed over the weekend against Vegas, against New Jersey. Things went well, things went bad. We're going to talk about all of that in Monday's episode of Locked On Hurricanes. And in the meantime, make sure you are following the show on Twitter at LO_Hurricanes and myself on Twitter at JaredEllis_96. And thank you guys again for making Locked On Hurricanes your first listen of this Friday afternoon. I almost said Monday, but we'll be talking about Vegas and New Jersey on Monday. In the meantime, you guys enjoy your weekend. Enjoy the games this weekend, and I will talk to you guys on Monday. And as always, let's go Canes.